Hello everybody, it's your favorite West Virginia Space here, and in the spirit of the spooky month, I decided to watch the original Wolfman movie, part of the old Universal lineup. And honestly, I have some thoughts about it, but first, I actually have a bit of a history with this movie, so how about we quickly go into that? You see, around 2008, when I would have been 5, I happened to see this very same movie, and let's just say it scared me so bad it left me with a fear of werewolves that lasted for several years. Of course, I'm over it now because it's been replaced by a much more logical fear of Wendigos. But that just brings to the next logical question of what did I think of the movie today? Well, honestly, it's pretty good, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it holds up way better than you think a movie from, the 30s and 40s would. And it's, a black and white movie, and I'm not a fan of black and white movies for multiple reasons. But, ultimately, I think the black and white nature in this movie doesn't necessarily work. I would have preferred a hypothetical colored version, but I think it holds up better than most black and white movies do in the lack of color department. And speaking of that, next to visual things, we of course have the actors who, chef's kiss, they all did a great job. I cannot think of a single actor who was just, oh, you're bad, or oh, you suck, because there's always that in modern movies. There's only that one actor that brings down the entire production, you know what I mean? But this movie doesn't have it. Every actor does their top-notch job, and nobody brings you out of the experience. And that's saying a lot. And the characters themselves are, though, not super complex necessarily, but are certainly enjoyable, and they certainly are very interesting in their own way. The main character, although not a perfect person, is a bit of a more tragic figure than of some werewolf media. Because we have, a very common theme in modern werewolf stories is that the person is an innocent bystander who gets dragged into this whole werewolf mess when they really did nothing. See, like American Werewolf in London and its derivatives. But this movie, he's more of a hero in a lot of ways. I mean, when he sees a vicious monster, his first instinct isn't to run away, and he got bit by accident. He goes in to fight the monster and ends up kind of being punished for it in a cosmic sort of way. He's effectively a hero, at least in that moment, but instead he gets punished by becoming the same monster he fought, killing several people before eventually his own death by his father's hands. And that's pretty tragic, I'm not gonna lie. And there's also some symbolicness in the fact that his father kills him almost, pretty much the identical way he killed the monster before. It's really kind of tragic in that sort of way. And that brings me to the werewolf itself. Now, granted, it's a movie from almost 100 years ago, so the special effects aren't perfect. There's some weird instances of, why was when he turned into a werewolf the first time, I think it was, that he clearly wasn't wearing, a flannel shirt, but then as the werewolf, he's wearing a flannel shirt. It's kind of weird. I had to point that out. It bothered me so much, actually. Well, not so much, but just a little bit. But, the movie is kind of smart in a way, is how, a lot of modern werewolf movie has the whole big transformation scene, and it just... it can do either really good in American Werewolf in London, or it can be kind of bad, depending on how good your special effects are. But, in this movie, though it doesn't have a big, transformation scene, it plays on the fact that you don't see it to add just a tiny touch of horror into it, in a way that I think is clever, even though we see the monster pretty quickly after that. And how the fear of it builds up. I mean, it's not really a scary movie. Maybe it's just because conventions aren't terribly different today. Although it does make younger me who got scared by it look kind of silly. But it's definitely an interesting movie. I think it has a lot of potential, not necessarily for a remake, but just for writers to look back upon. Because we have a very particular idea of how the Wolfman is that just loses certain details that were in the original movie that I think is a bit of a disappointment. I think it could be re-explored and done better. I know they made a remake, but I haven't seen that, and I don't know if I ever gonna. But ultimately, I thought it was a pretty good movie. I highly recommend you give it a watch. Because it's free on Amazon Prime, at least for right now. So I would give it a watch. And if you have any opinions on the movie, then please comment down below, and I'll see you all next time. Yeah. Hey, why don't you hit that sub button? You're gonna become a subscribble. Get to see my content quicker. Wouldn't that be nice? I bet so.